Many of you in my last video comment section were very opinionated on Kriselle, the ship between Kris and Noelle, and what it meant for the story. Now, in everyone's defense, I did a very sloppy and superficial description of what I meant in terms of heteronormality and romantic undertones in the weird route. I didn't want to repeat verbatim what Stuffed Alpaca already said about the weird route Kriselle, and wound up only halfway explaining myself. I got a lot of opinions saying I was wrong and that I basically painted abuse as a masculine trait, which is just incorrect. A few of you understood what I was trying to get at, but I don't think I should defend myself when the majority of people thought my analysis was lacking and false in that section. I loved hearing everyone's opinions honestly on that video, so thank you for all the support, and I enjoyed hearing, surprisingly, just how many of you love a good toxic queer ship. I realized since that part of my video was so lacking, I could dive into that entire concept on its own in this video. So I'm making a video taking the time to look at Weird Route Kriselle and Normal Route Kriselle, as well as any other ship for that matter. There were a few comments on my last video that genuinely made me like Kriselle as a former Krusie supporter, and I want to discuss. Suselle lovers, I hate to break it to you, but this probably isn't going to be your video. However, with that being said, let's not fight over ships. I personally don't think any will become canon, which means there's a lot more freedom with shipping in this fandom, but let's all be civil and nice about it. Furthermore, I want to say thank you for 1K subscribers. I'm going to go back to playing games rather than yapping in an upcoming video, just to do something relaxing to celebrate and also take a look at a game I've been recommended, so look out for that. I haven't played something in a while. That video has been postponed due to my PC genuinely tweaking, college finals preventing me from going home to said PC, and the sheer amount of time I've spent studying for said finals. In fact, I need to study the nervous system right now, but instead of learning the spinocerebral pathway, I'm writing a YouTube video script on Kriselle. In my last video, I attempted to discuss the gender roles that play a part in Kriselle and the weird route. Basically, what I was trying to get at is that the weird route takes two queer teens and makes them act out a common romantic trope seen in RPGs. You see, playing an RPG like Deltarune would have most of us assume that maybe, along the journey, the character we play as inevitably starts dating the childhood friend girl next door. It's displayed in shows, games, movies, and is a common expectation. It's a cute and genuine romance people like to see. I think the weird route, given all its romantic undertones, manipulation, and discomfort, is showing us this trope, but with a catch. We have to essentially erase Noelle and Kris's queer identities, forcing them into this clearly uncomfortable romance that's basically for the hetero gays, as well as make the relationship abusive. Toby's like, yeah, you can try to take control of the narrative and have your typical RPG, but you're gonna need to hurt in-game characters for it. Like how in Undertale, you can be curious and explore the game to its fullest, but Toby will make you feel guilty for hurting the in-game characters through his writing and world building. I think what's really captivating about Kriselle in both the weird and normal route is that there are these subtle examples and instances that make it so believable. I really like the way Toby is crafting romance in this game, because I think ultimately it's not going to matter. On the surface, it seems like Suselle is going to be a cute sapphic ship that slowly blossoms throughout the story. But on a deeper level, Susie and Noelle's chemistry is challenged by the chemistry Kris has with both these characters themselves. In my opinion, whenever I see Susie and Noelle interact, I fail to see significant chemistry between them, which doesn't need to be there for the ship to evolve, of course. A good example brought up by a commenter in my last video is Noelle describing the comfort and love she feels from scary and creepy things, which we assume means she's the perfect match for Susie. Commenter then brings up how Susie isn't the same comforting scary that Noelle likes. She's real scary. And while I doubt Susie would ever really hurt someone close to her, she's definitely aggressive and has come close to doing so. Commenter goes on to pitch how Kris, however, is that comforting scary. With their pranks and shenanigans, Noelle knows is fake. It's like saying you're comforted by things that frighten you and everyone assumes that means you're in love with the alternative tomboy bully, when actually you're more likely to enjoy someone who can pull a prank here and there, tell you a fake scary story as kids, and is never as truly scary as Susie is. However, there's no doubting Noelle truly is crushing on Susie. While Susie is seemingly painted as just naive to her advances, I feel like in their hangouts they seem more friendly than flirty. I feel like Noelle is crushing hard on Susie, but Susie just genuinely enjoys her company and the ability to finally make some friends. Having been a school bully with a tough home life and no friends, I think Susie is just enjoying feeling normal for once, as well as important and wanted from the prophecy making her feel such. It could of course just simply take more time for the relationship to foster, but I do want to bring up how close the story is to ending, and unless Susie realizes in an instant her platonic feelings are actually romantic, Suselle, in my opinion, isn't going anywhere. I don't have a real reason for explaining why Toby might put these breadcrumbs of the ship and not make it canon, other than angst, or simply because I feel like it would be an interesting fake out. Like, Deltarune doesn't seem like a game that needs any romance in it to be good or drive home its points. In fact, it seems almost distracting from the main plot because of the pacing so far in the game. There's definitely still time and the festival still has to happen and all that, but I think Toby is going to leave Suselle and other ships as open-ended. Kinda like how in Undertale, Alphys and Undyne only get together in one ending. And it was basically bonus content and wasn't relevant to the main plot, aside from its representation of what could happen when you're nice to everyone. And another thing to touch upon is how often I see the argument of the prophecy saying love finds its way to the girl as evidence that Suselle is going to happen. And like, no offense, but what? Love is so ambiguous. I'm surprised the Deltarune fandom of all fandoms is taking a word like love so literally. Like, I thought we had thinking skills. Love finds its way to the girl can mean 1,000 things, and I'll say this for both Susie and Noelle because people still theorize about who's represented as who in the prophecy, but I'll show you how it applies to both. Susie has no friends. She finds friends. She loves her friends. Found family trope, honestly. Noelle is a non-confident and shy person. Her home life and past hint at being traumatic. She's been reconnecting with Kris and finding love for herself with her developing confidence. Love could mean level of violence in Deltarune too, even though I highly doubt it. But oh, Susie is violent. Maybe love find its way to the girl means Susie has to kill someone. Enter the panel that Susie says she won't let happen. Oh, the weird route has Noelle killing and freezing people and literally powering up like you did in Undertale. Love finds its way to the girl could also just mean people beginning to love Susie or Noelle, not even that they themselves find love for someone else. I just don't get how people saw love and went it has to mean the romantic kind. Love finds its way to the girl. Oh, maybe we get Des back. Maybe Noelle and Des are reunited. Maybe Susie moves in with Kris at the end of the game and finds a loving family. I feel like there's so much ambiguity around the sentence of love finds its way to the girl. Like, there are so many instances in Deltarune of situations where characters are neglected and unloved that I'm utterly shocked that most people seem to assume that romantic love is being referenced here. If Suselle happens, I'm not gonna hate it. I'm just not sold on it happening, and that's simply because I really don't think it fits in Deltarune. And maybe you're confused with me saying that because how could it not fit? It's hinted at and heavily explored, but so is the possibility that Kris and Noelle have something, especially on the weird route, like we're ripping Noelle from Susie. And I feel like in the normal route, Kris knows so much more about Susie than Noelle does, and that we're taking Susie from her this time. I think utterly it's supposed to display this complicated, overlapping, unfair mess of crushes and potential pairings because these are a bunch of traumatized teenagers. And also there's a route of the game that makes you manipulate and get uncomfortably close to your childhood friend. What's interesting about Weird Route Kriselle, really, is how we seem to be making Kris just creep up to Noelle and get closer and closer as friends, after going all this time drifting away. Noelle knows so much about Kris, she's the first to know something's up with them, and she so badly wants their actions in the Weird Route to be a prank. Kris reassures her and goes out of their way to mend what we did, which doesn't inherently show romantic feelings. That's just a very humane thing to do in this situation. Then we take control of Kris again and force them to force the ring back on Noelle, a sign of ownership and control. Kris takes the lead, and all of Noelle's autonomy with them. No, rather, we take the lead in all of Kris and Noelle's autonomy. How could we possibly expect any romance to bloom in the weird route other than the uncomfortable situation we're creating between these two characters? We're making Kris use Noelle like a tool and objectify her, and she's so passive and so manipulated that even though she hopes it's all a prank, she listens and follows, at least for now. It wouldn't be so out of the picture for Noelle to begin to think she needs Kris and their guidance, or that she needs to feel wanted by being used like this. Chapter 3 hints at us possibly discarding Noelle towards the end of the weird route. Maybe she becomes so obsessed and attached into this dynamic with Kris that it destroys her to not be useful anymore. In Chapter 4, Susie mentions how Kris is good at flirting. Well, I think it reads like a Toby bit, especially since Kris visibly blushes at this. Many take this comment to be evidence that Susie and Kris have more chemistry than Susie and Noelle. Another moment I enjoy is Kris blushing while giving the knife to Susie because it's such a raw and personal item for them, and it creates such a lighthearted yet intimate moment between the two. It's worth noting this definitely could still be platonic, and like I said, I don't think any ship will be canon in this game. Going on a brief Krusie tangent here, I personally am fond of the ship because I think Kris and Susie are able to really understand each other. Susie bullied Kris, and Kris in turn has hurt Susie before. Both are odd and struggle to make friends, yet paired together brought out each other's most vulnerable and caring sides. A bit harder to see this in Kris since, well, we dictate their words, but moments like them physically refusing to say something they know will hurt Susie shows their deep adoration for her. Being caring, however, does not mean it equals romantic love right away. Also, I just really love drawing Krusie art, so I'm hella biased. More like hella based, am I right, Yuri enjoyers? Moving back to Kriselle, I think still this ship is interesting too. I understand people's love for Weird Route Kriselle so much more after Snarlinger, of all people, sold me on it. God damn! I just thought it was gross and weird and evil, which it is, in such an artistically and tragically beautiful way. Someone in my last video comment section told me to let queer ships be dysfunctional, end quote, and I was like, probably the equivalent of how Isaac Newton felt discovering gravity. I discovered evil Yuri that day. To be clear, I'm aware that lesbians can date non-binary people, and that's completely valid. I think I just did a poor job explaining what I was thinking when I said we forced Kris into a masculine role in Weird Route Kriselle. My favorite thing is calling ships with Kris in them as Yuri or Yaoi, despite Kris being non-binary, because it's funny and unserious. I think the relationship between Kris and Noelle could be very interesting, which is funny because I literally just said Toby is discouraging their relationship because it would be expected and cliche. But I like to think of that trope being followed, but this time with the twist that it's queer. Woohoo! Like, I don't know, food for thought. Yes, the weird route is a criticism of the cliche trope, because in order for us to get it, we have to be crazy and manipulate. But also in the normal route, Kriselle is real because they have this chemistry as childhood friends, but it's also messed up because, you know what, Kris and Noelle definitely have shared trauma of kids with Des's disappearance and everything, and their parents aren't the best, so it's so bad. It's like, here's your trope. Main character and romance with the childhood friend, but no, it's evil, it's toxic, it's dysfunctional, and it's gay. But also, I like to think there's probably not going to be any canon ships, yet there's these leads, these breadcrumbs, that make us all think Krusie or Kriselle could happen, and that it's such a pleasing ship, etc., etc. What's your guys' favorite ships, by the way? Drop them, let me hear them. Also, so I was doing research for my script, and Google AI thought it was important to tell me Krusie has the most AO3 fanfics. But then I scrolled down and also told me that Spamtenna has the most AO3 fanfics, so I think it's just getting a little confused. And anytime I look up Kriselle, Google AI automatically thinks I'm talking about Krusie, so I think I know its favorite ship. That, or it's trained and influenced by the sheer amount of people who do like that ship and post online about it. Which is weird, because I was under the impression that a lot more people liked Suselle, But if more people hold the same sentiment about this than I do, then, I mean, that's fire. I don't know. I just think Krusie is good and imaginable. I mean, I know it won't happen, which is kind of like personally how I want this story to go. I don't think romance is important here. I kind of like all the doom and sadness around thinking Kris might have feelings for Susie and watching Susie get actively sought after by Noelle, and the raw moments with Kris and Susie have, and how likely it will never end up, happening, and something tragic will probably happen in the future. I think Toby wrote Undertale and was like, gay marriage for all, and then he dropped Deltarune, post learning what doomed Yuri is. Alphys ain't getting calls back, Susie doesn't like Noelle like that, Kris is not going to ever confess to Susie, Berkeley's aromantic, everyone's divorced, that damn TV and his ex-husband still want each other, not even poly relationships are safe, no one is. Who killed Toby's whimsy from Undertale to Deltarune? I feel like Undertale had its deep and disturbing moments, but it just scratches the surface of what Deltarune will dive into emotionally. It's like that was Toby's practice round, and that's just a small fragment of his true power as a game creator. Also, guys, do we think Soriel is going to be canon and in Deltarune, and therefore be the reason why Sans befriended Torio so quickly in Undertale and made that promise to her, despite having never met her, since Sans Undertale is Sans Deltarune? Do we think Chapter 5 is the divorced dad arc? A second chapter on divorce has hit the Deltarune, sir. The divorced dad arc, and Asgore, your ex-husband, is watching his ex-wife move on and start dating the guy who gives him free pickles. Did I make that up? Is that a real, interaction in the game? I think I saw one thing about it, and I don't even know if it was true. Anyways, I've run out of things to say for this yap session. Let me know what everyone's favorite Deltarune ship is, because I'm curious, and subscribe if you think I'm cool.